Great. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to day 14th. I won't take much of your time. I'll just quickly give over the stage to Sheeba and Dr. Lakshmi. Sheeba, over to you.
Hi, everyone. So glad to see this kind of a session and the speakers all around, the selective group of speakers. This is a fireside chat, and I'm glad that there'll be some very interesting discussions through this session. I warmly welcome our speakers for the day. Again, Dr. Lakshmi Jagannathan, Chief Executive Officer at DERBI, Gandhali Samant, Director and Developer Ecosystem at GitHub, Pooja Bhatia, Chief Manager at ITTO, FITT, IIT Delhi, Anila Choraria, Assistant Director at Msme, Government of India, Preeti Chaudhary, founder of LinkedIn Local India. A very warm welcome to all the ladies here and to the wonderful audience who will be so excited and looking forward for such an introduction. I'll just quickly take you through Dr. Lakshmi's journey so far. She's an incubation professional with more than a decade of experience in the incubation ecosystem, a hardcore startup evangelist, and a firm believer that startups can transform economies. Instrumental in initiating innovation and entrepreneurship activities at Dayanand Sagar institutions way back in 2009, when you could hardly hear about entrepreneurship and things around it. She successfully did this, organically grew the eCell into an innovation entrepreneurship development center and to a full-fledged technology business incubator known as DERBI Foundation. Been propelling this growth throughout not only with multiple government grants, but also by a passionate network of professionals whom she nurtured and handled to create this whole ecosystem. Dr. Lakshmi, a very warm welcome to you be here. And it's so glad to see you here. Would you like to have some more lines on what you think, and then we can proceed with some questions?
Sure. I think I would probably thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. I think it's been really, I would say, a dream run for me last 10 years plus now. So what started off probably as an allied, I would say, co-curricular activity in a department became a full-fledged, I would say, commercial entity today. So it's been literally a dream run. Probably the timing was right. And anybody who's in the startup ecosystem today, I think I would say they are in the right place at the right time. Because so many opportunities are emerging, whether you're a startup, you're a mentor, or you're an incubation professional, or you're an investor, or any role you're playing in the startup ecosystem, I think the timing-wise, it is right. So there's enough opportunity and more for anybody in this ecosystem. So I would say, anybody here, I would say, congratulations for being in the ecosystem at this point of time.
Great to hear this, Dr. Lakshmi. Dr. Lakshmi, we gladly congratulate for you being awarded at Outstanding Women Leadership for 2021. How you were promoting innovation, empowering young entrepreneurs, and making a significant impact into the startup ecosystem. So, what as a female leader do you think was the most significant time in your career, and how your story can be an inspiring one for people who are hearing here, irrespective of the gender, be the females or the males?
Oh, thank you, Shiva. I think I would say probably one critical juncture was at some point of time. See this, as I told earlier, this whole thing was initiated as an academic exercise. We started off an entrepreneurship cell in a campus. Then we had a full-fledged innovation center, which had to transform to a TBI at some point of time. So at one point of time, one fine day, I had to decide between running an academic department, because I was head of the department of an MBA program in a university campus. So I had to decide giving up the MBA leadership HOD position vis-a-vis running an incubator. I think or it actually translates to giving up your comfort zone, or rather giving up a zone where what are the known dimensions of running a department. In terms of expectations are very clearly set. So there's a timetable for every day. You just go about executing the timetable, running the classes, assigning subjects, facilitate a whole lot of other things. Whereas contrary to that, there was another role which was running an incubator, which was it is like there is no timetable for every day, right? You don't know what is for tomorrow, whom you're meeting, what is going to be the startup whom you're meeting, what are their requirements, how do you really span out? I think the critical juncture has been me deciding that I would rather give up a very cozy, comfortable academic role and get into a full-time incubation professional role, I think about 7 years back. I think that was a critical juncture.
All right. So with this, I think I'll definitely ask this question. What inspired you to initiate such kind of an activity? Because there are institutes and colleges still struggling to create a good entity within their institute, like an e-cell, and then converting that into an incubation center. So that inspiring journey, if you can just summarize some few points, like couple of points where people can really identify this whole mapping of innovation within the institute, if you can just highlight that point.
Sure, sure. I think there are two things here, Shiva. One is, primarily when you're trying to do something, I would say, radical change like this in any campus or any institution, it has to be a top-down approach. Unless there is a buy-in from the top management of any organization, things would not happen. So that way, I would say I was fortunate enough because the leadership at Dayaran Sagar empowered me to really drive this initiative. So, having seen the world, they believed that the institution should always leapfrog and do something really different. Probably, if you see the Bangalore ecosystem, I think 10 years back, we were one of the earlier adopters in the institutions who were running a full-fledged incubation on campus. So, I think the management buy-in and support was very critical, number one. Number two, probably my DNA also helped because I am from a family of entrepreneurs. My father, brother, everybody is an entrepreneur. Probably I was not made to suit for a 9 to 5 job. Probably the entrepreneur bug was there in me somewhere, to do something independent on my own. So this, I would say, it's always a DERBI is an entrepreneurship initiative within an institution where there's an opportunity to create something within an institution, given the freedom to operate, experiment. And I would probably say one thing which has really added well to what I have been doing is we started off, I think, writing even a 10,000 rupees grant 10 years back. Today, I think the whole funding I've got, not to boast what I've got, in all humility, I would say, I think I've raised up to 25 crores of grants from the government programs for the institution. Why it has been possible is any money that you get from any government program, it has to be dealt with lot of sanctity and has to serve the purpose for which it is intended to. I think if that is clearly done, then cracking your first funding is difficult. After that, once you show traction progress, then it is an uphill ride which you just drive seamlessly.
Great to hear this. I think that's just like something out of a leader's mouth, and how they can actually carve their journey. With the discussion on early stage startups, I'll definitely ask some points that how especially the women entrepreneurs and people like you who are among the women leaders can guide others also, that how they can plan their journey, or what could be your say for the early stage startups, and especially the women entrepreneurs, how they can actually plan this being into this sphere and creating their own ventures.
I think slowly, Shiba, I think last 5-6 years, the ecosystem is also sort of, I would say, little maturing in terms of really validating idea by its true value and not based on the gender of the founder. That is one. So women are now competing at par, shoulder to shoulder with men in any front. So, and I would always believe that we women are definitely better at multitasking than our counterparts always. So, I think even on the domestic front, I think that women entrepreneur support. And in fact, I know a lot of women founders who have had husbands who have given up jobs, joined their wives, became co-founders, and they moved overseas also. So I think if you have an idea today, I would say there are enough opportunities, starting from fellowships to prototyping grants to seed funds to incubation support to mentorship. Whole lot of things are available. No, I think One is, I think, one simple mantra, no, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're in any profession, never feel ashamed of asking for help. Never feel ashamed of saying what you are and say, this is what I want. No, you can always demand for what you want and you will get it.
That's something really like wonderful to hear, and appreciate how you are encouraging the community feel, how the teamwork is important, and how startups can definitely help each other, how the ecosystem can build. And being a female yourself, how you managed, and how encouraging it is to hear that there have been ventures by females, how they created while leaving their lucrative jobs and their spouses joining in. That's wonderful to hear, Dr. Lakshmi. So, Dr. Lakshmi, would you like to continue, or I heard that you have to leave for some urgent appointment?
No, I will continue because the problem is my video can be muted. I will continue. I will allow to listen to my fellow panelists as well.
No worries. We'll be happy to have you here. We have some more very interesting questions from the audiences, and then definitely I have a couple of more. I'll quickly move to Gandhali Samant. She's here. Gandhali, I'll just give you a brief intro once again. It's wonderful to have you. She has an experience of software engineering. She has been leading the GitHub. So I'll just quickly tell her 20 years rich working experience in IT with global giants as like GitHub, Microsoft, L&T. Presently, she's working with GitHub as director, where she's leading developer ecosystem and market engagement. She led global team of experienced engineers to help Microsoft's top customers in the FSI domain to digitally transform their products and services. So amazing to hear this, Gandhali. Over to you. We are waiting to hear you.
Hi, Shiva. Thank you. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak to all of you. And thank you for that lovely introduction. So as Shiva said, I'm right now working as a director for developer ecosystem and market engagement at GitHub India. Previously, I have worked with multiple multinational companies, the last one being Microsoft. And I have been in IT for around 20 years. And if you think about last 20 years, I think my generation has seen the biggest technical transformation that happened in IT, right? Right from the internet to smartphones to this phenomena called cloud to IoT to AI, ML and blockchain and literally everything. And being in the middle of it actually had given me a lot of opportunities to try all of these things and work on all those different technologies during 20 years of my career. One disclaimer is I never actually worked for a startup, but I have always been in the ecosystem from an enabler perspective. So even when so today as a director for developer ecosystem, a big part of my job is to kind of work with the startup ecosystem in India, and I would say mainly enable the startups to kind of use the best features of GitHub platform so that their growth could be faster. I think that's what the objective that we have, and we are a new team. We are building a lot of programs for startups, mainly from their technical enablement and so on. But before this, I spent around 8 years with Microsoft, and out of that, for 2-3 years, I was managing the startup program where I was working with a lot of startups. I was also mentoring as a part of many accelerators in mainly Mumbai, Pune area from their technical enablement. So if you remember, the 2013, 14, 15 was the time frame when startup ecosystem in India had started growing. There was new funding. There were new laws and rules and relaxations from government side to kind of help the startup ecosystem thrive. And at the same time, the giants like Google, AWS, Microsoft were all in that market trying to kind of create the platforms to help enable these startups. So I was part of that ecosystem at that time as well, when I was working with a lot of different startups to kind of help them build them solutions on cloud, because many of them were born in cloud, but many of them were still using data centers, and kind of getting them to optimize their solutions on cloud so that they can grow faster. And one thing with startup is sometimes your growth is so fast and you scale so fast. Like I worked with one startup. When they started working with us, they had like 3 customers, and in next 6 months I think they went from 3 to 400. So that kind of scale, you need the technology and the solutions to manage that scale, right? Your solution should be able to scale that way. And I mean, I don't remember any startup which did not have a technology play in it. So I think that's where, I worked very closely with the startup ecosystem in India, and built a really big appreciation for all the talent that we have right now in Indian startup ecosystem. So that's my background, and that's my affiliation with the Indian startup ecosystem.
Wonderful, Gandhali. And I think I'm privileged to have be on this same dais, or you can say on the same panel, where I can see people have been the curators, and the how they created the overall ecosystem, be it Dr. Lakshmi, and the way you are telling that 20 years in this ecosystem, be it so whether you're there with the startups or not, but I think you have been playing the biggest role of today's you can say the technology platforms what you're running here, and how you have been the mobilizer of all these activities. So Gandhali, can you just highlight a little bit more on your programs which the GitHub is doing for startups, and what are they, and some specific things about women entrepreneurship, because females are here, and they can get some more inputs at that how these could be one of their takeaways from this.
Sure, Shiva. So I'll first answer the first part of your question. What is GitHub trying to do with a startup ecosystem, right? So I would like to, I don't know whether there could be a show of hands here, but how many of you know GitHub? That would be my first question. And if there are developers in the crowd, I'm sure they know
By the way, I'm
GitHub,
not
right?
a developer. I have never been into this, but I know it. So it's a very common
Yes,
platform, be it with the startups and be it with the students. So it's a proud moment.
right,
People know
right.
it.
Right.
I
Right.
can,
So GitHub is what we call, it's the home of developers. It's the largest platform on earth where developer communities work together. We have more than 65 million developers on GitHub, and we are also the home of open source. So all that open source innovation that is happening, right? That happens on GitHub, right? So why that is important for startups is startups need talent, and startups need collaboration, and startups need this new young blood, who is technically so good that they want to build the solutions of next generation. So that's where GitHub can really help you. And we as a platform, we have been evolving a lot in last few years. So GitHub started as a collaboration platform, but we quickly added a lot of software engineering related features, like, how do you manage your repositories? How do you create your pull requests? How do you manage your entire CI/CD pipelines? And if you see in last 1 to 2 years, there has been so much innovation on the platform. Like we have a feature like code spaces, where within a second you can bring up an entire IDE in cloud, and you don't need to now provide machines to your developer with all the environment setup, and it doesn't take like a day to set up all the dependencies of your environment. So we are doing so much innovation, and a lot of those things could be very, very used from startup, just by the way startups work, because again, startups are very agile. They have all these new young talent, and they are ready to try new things, right? So I think what we are trying to do in the ecosystem is mainly make sure that that awareness is built within the ecosystem, that how GitHub can enable that for you. And other thing that we have is, and we are again investing a lot, is in the automation, the entire automation platform that we are building with GitHub. And those who have worked in the in the deployment CI/CD workspace, they know how important it is to get your your new features quickly to market. It's not it's I think the most important thing for startups, as they want to connect with their customers. So there also, in your entire DevOps journey or your DevSecOps journey, GitHub can be your partner to kind of really enable it and make it very, very fast for you. So I think that is what we are trying to do in the ecosystem. We have programs. We have something called GitHub Accelerate, where we have credits for our premium SKU for curated set of startups. But we are trying to look at how we can expand this program and connect with more and more startups in early stage, or in who are just building, who have less number of developers, and what are those GitHub features could be useful for them. So if you are a startup and if you really want to kind of understand what GitHub could do for you, I'm your contact person. Let me know, ping me on LinkedIn. And yeah.
So as a incubation representative, I would like to know if there are any collaboration or opportunities where incubators, because there are a lot of early stage startups which work with incubators. And if the incubators have it, so we have a lot of freebies and development platforms and support like this. So if GitHub is also offering a similar thing, we can definitely connect with a lot of incubators who can directly connect them to early stage startups.
Definitely, Shiva. So I would really like to connect with you, and I think I want to start with understanding the ecosystem. And so I took over this job just 3 months back. So right now I am in a process of building those programs for incubators and accelerators. So if I could connect to all of you, I think we can design that programs better as per as we understand what are those startups require, what kind of help they need from GitHub, and how we can kind of enable them. So definitely, if you are an accelerator or incubator, we would definitely like to get in touch with you.
Great, Gandhali. And I think I'll get back to you. There are a lot of queries from the audience and myself also. So we'll quickly move to the next speaker here, Anila. I'll be happy to introduce Anila. Anila is working as an assistant director at DC MSME, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise. She has been associated with the Ministry of MSME since July 2016. She's a postgraduate MA Economics honors. Along with her post-graduation, she's also a postgraduate diploma in IPR. That's wonderful. She's presented India in World Intellectual Property Organization at Georgia in 2017. Welcome, Anila, and I think I'm always happy to hear and get so much of information on how MSME is building the overall startup ecosystem in India.
Hi, Sheeba, can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Thank you, Sheeba. Because of the technical glitches, I have kept the video off.
No worries.
Okay, fine. First of all, I will speak about like bridging a gap between business and startup. Like if among the audience, someone is feeling that they want to start a normal business and they are not into a startup, which is basically involves some kind of innovation, or it should be novel of its own kind. So if any woman entrepreneur is over here and who feels that I want to start my normal business, then you can do that also. For that, you can get in touch with Ministry of MSME. Apart from boosting the startups and bridging the gap between basically the industry academia collaboration, we are supporting the MSMEs also and the startups also through our incubation scheme, as well as various other marketing and financial schemes also. So day by day, government is making many changes to bring more and more women entrepreneurs and more MSMEs into the under the umbrella or definition of the MSME, and various changes government is making to make it very business friendly for all of you. So that's I can speak about the. And now I want to speak about some of the schemes of Ministry of MSME, especially for the women entrepreneurs, including some of the schemes of Government of India. So of all the schemes, one major scheme which is exclusively for the women entrepreneurs is the Stand Up India. So those who are into the greenfield projects, any woman, they can avail a scheme of up to 1 crore rupees under the Stand Up India, which is exclusively for the women entrepreneurs. Apart from that, other financial assistance schemes like PMEGP and Mudra are also there, the women entrepreneurs can get an added advantage. Like if for the general category, the subsidy is 15%, for the women category, the subsidy is 25%. So I would.
So great to hear. That's wonderful how women entrepreneurs can be supported more into their ventures and extra support and benefits from Government of India. Anila, there has been a rising query on the loan. How the what are the initiatives a startup can leverage to start their POC if to consider loan as a choice for them instead of waiting for grant. So how MSME is promoting this?
Yeah, Shiba, as we all know, the basic crunch which the MSMEs or the startup face is the financial assistance itself, and for that only government have mainly made those changes. So first, I will speak about the Mudra loan. Earlier, the MSME used to cover only the manufacturing and services, but lately, government made changes into our definition. But prior to that, traders were not incorporated into the definition of MSME. So for them, the Mudra loan was launched. Those who are into the unorganized sector or those women entrepreneurs or any entrepreneur who want to get into trading also, they can avail loan up to 10 lakhs rupees under the Mudra loan. And apart from that, and since I am telling repeatedly again and again, government have made changes and brought the MSMEs and traders, retailers, manufacturers, urban street vendors under the ambit of MSME. So now, apart from manufacturers and retailers, even the traders can avail some of the benefits of the financial schemes of Ministry of MSME. Like apart from skilling finance, the main problem which we face these days was the marketing. So for marketing, or you want to be a supplier to the government of India, you can avail, you can register yourself on the GEM portal, in which you don't have to directly enter into any kind of tender. Firstly, you can directly supply petty purchases to the government of India. And to boost the women entrepreneurs, the GEM portal have made one filter of Umania into that. Register, I would request the women entrepreneurs to register themselves under the Umania filter, and they can be a supplier to the government of India or any state government or any PSUs directly if they are facing any crunch of the markets.
Wonderful to hear all the schemes and support mechanisms already existing and how women entrepreneurs can avail. And I hope the people, obviously this is a opportunity for everyone, and both women and men, like whosoever is willing to start up their ventures can do it, and the extra support which the women entrepreneurs are being offered by Government of India, they can definitely avail that. Thank you, Anila. I think we'll have a couple of more questions from the audience once we are there. So just be with us. I'll quickly move to Pooja. Pooja, so wonderful to have you here. I'll quickly introduce Pooja. She is an experienced IP and licensing professional, a certified licensing professional, a registered technology transfer professional with a demonstrated history of working in life sciences domain with a master's of business administration. She's currently holding the position of Chief Manager at Innovation Technology Transfer Office. She's a proud recipient of Global Women Leadership Award 2021 and is also listed as World Intellectual Property Forum, which is a powerful entity for women in IP 2021. So glad to have you here, Pooja, and glad to see you. We have been talking for a couple of times. We could meet. So nice to see you. Over to you, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Sheeba. Thank you for giving the nice introduction about me, and it's a pleasure to be here with everyone on this afternoon or evening. I would say it's turning into evening now. So I've been hearing to all the panelists and the remarkable inputs they have given. I would kind of start with what Dr. Lakshmi had said. Yes, women have been entrepreneurial right from the start, be it our mothers, our grandmothers, or even maybe their grandmothers, they have been entrepreneurs. And this home-based entrepreneurship has been there from time unknown. Nobody can trace it. But now there has been so much of a push from all the sectors, be it Government of India, incubators like yours, or ecosystem partners like Headstart, to get the women onto the forefront into technology-based entrepreneurship. And similarly, Innovation Technology Transfer Office also realized that we need to do a bit more to help the women entrepreneurs to get into the tech-based entrepreneurship and support them in their journey by giving them the required services with respect to IP and technology transfer. So today on this platform, I announced two schemes which we have launched today. One is a Caterpillar scheme, which is oriented towards the women faculty innovators. The second one is REAP, which is especially for the women entrepreneurs. Both the schemes are going to give an opportunity to them to work on their innovations which they have created, move them from university or institute or their colleges into the required incubators, and then get the wings to fly and to realize their dreams. Here we are giving them the complete hand-holding support, getting them connected with relevant incubators and the ecosystem partners, also giving them a filing support for any IP or patent up to 2 lakhs. So that is the kind of support we are giving them. And we will also be helping them with the company registration and compliances support, be there with them in their journey as a partner. So if there is anyone who is interested, they can get in touch with me or connect over LinkedIn to know more about the Caterpillar and REAP schemes which are there, which have been launched today.
So glad to hear the whole how you curated the speakers and things. And I totally agree, Pooja. Women have been multitaskers. They have been organizing stuff. So it's not new that they have been tagged as women entrepreneurs. They have been running so many, you can say, skilled-based, lifestyle-based businesses, which now have turned into bigger ventures. And that's so nice. And the way your organization is supporting how to protect the copyrights and things, and how to protect the innovation and go ahead with a successful journey. That's wonderful to hear. I'll quickly move to the another speaker, and Pooja will definitely get back to you. There'll be a lot of queries from the audience, because your topic is the burning topic of many of the innovators, that how to take this ahead.
Sure, thanks.
Thanks, Pooja. We now welcome Preeti. Preeti, I'll give you a quick intro, and good to see you here. Preeti Chaudhary is the founder of LinkedIn Local India, and creator of Pan India LinkedIn Local Community. That's a LinkedIn property, online, offline, online series of knowledge and networking events in India. Preeti single-handedly introduced this global concept to India in November 2017, spearheaded and led it to from the front, and further fine-tuned it to the suit an Indian context. She has been building the community amongst tier 2, 3, and 4, among which includes professionals, colleges, school students, to create this whole community. She knows 6 languages. That's amazing, Preeti. She has been to so many countries, 18 plus countries, 4 continents, and she has so much to share, I think, Preeti. I think it's over to you, how you can get your journey all through to the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and namaskar and hello to India. Shiva, thanks so much for igniting this conversation. Headstart Network Foundation, thank you for the invite. Lovely to be here. Conversation, as they say, is the key to everything else. So today, in these first few minutes, I would really like to talk about what does the female entrepreneurial mindset bring to the startup ecosystem. Having said that, I would like to say to everyone, and for the record, I'm a 150% believer of entrepreneurship has no gender. But wait, let's talk about some numbers first. So India has 58.5 million entrepreneurs. 8.05 million of those are women entrepreneurs. When you translate that, that is only 14% out of the 100% of entrepreneurs in this country. compared to 126 million women business owners globally, India has only around 8 million. And these are 2018 figures. That there could have been some plus and minus, but can't be by and large from 8 million, it will jump straight away to 126 million. Then Dell conducted a survey amongst consulting firms. And then, you know what? Out of all the cities and all the metros in the country, only Bengaluru and Delhi came in at 40th and 49th position out of 50 as the most favorable global places for females to work. Now, if you go by these numbers, I think I stand corrected in my own belief and statement of entrepreneurship has no gender. If we look at these numbers, not just in India, but globally, entrepreneurship definitely has a gender, and that happens to be male at this point in time. Probably it will take another 50, 100, 200 years, but at this point in time, it is definitely male. Now let's try and understand, why do we need women entrepreneurs? And I'm going to very quickly touch upon a few points, because I think it is extremely important to have inclusion, because there cannot be any diversity without inclusion. And with women at almost 50% of the global population, I think leaving out a section of society, that itself sort of negates the whole point of building an entrepreneurship ecosystem with them as consumers. If they cannot be stakeholders, if they cannot be part of the community, if they cannot be founders, if they cannot be funders, if they cannot be mentors and all the rest of it, what are we solutioning for? You know, so that sort of lays the whole point moot right there. So why do we need women entrepreneurs? Very quickly, I think we all would agree, clarity of thought and a firm set of resolve. Whatever said and done, not only are we really good at managing stuff, we are extremely clear and concise in the vision that we have for ourselves. And, you know, when we set to something, then there is that definite firm resolve. 58% of the women when surveyed said that multitasking is one of their greatest skills. And I couldn't agree less, because I myself can do 25 different things at the same time without dropping the quality on even a single one of them. Okay. Also, another thing is, women are masters in the art of communication. They're great negotiators. 60% of them surveyed said that they are what they are because of their communication. They're great negotiators as well, mind, when they go to the investor pitches, when they're talking to stakeholders, when they're going for somewhere else, they manage to get their points through and are able to sort of bend the stakeholders into their favorable sort of direction. Again, sixth sense and intuition, that's built into us, and so is sensitivity and empathy. Basically, they are very small defaulters in loans and capital return and all the rest of it as compared to men. I'm not saying they do not do that at all, but when compared to male founders, they are very less in default. And extremely high on stakeholder management. So those are the reasons why I think the other half of the population has to have a seat on this table. Otherwise, there is no point in any of it. There are certain obstacles rather also involved when it comes to women stepping out. And the biggest one of all of them is, number one, the family support. Most of the times they don't have, and especially in tier 2, 3, 4 Bharat. And very proudly about myself, I'm a returnee Jabalpuria. Jabalpur is a tier 2 city from Madhya Pradesh. After living in the country and living in 3 other countries outside the country, I came back to India and I settled in my own hometown, thinking and saying that I am going to give back now to the ecosystem, starting from my own city, because Madhya Pradesh is primarily agrarian. They said, let's work towards breaking the chain of patriarchy and of the lack of familial support, very low self-esteem, and all the self-doubt that keep nagging women, lack of awareness and knowledge. Now, on this panel today, there are people from the MSMEs, there's people from the incubators, accelerators, enablers like Headstart Foundation itself, repositories like GitHub for technical knowledge. You know, so I don't think that should be a problem on this particular panel, but otherwise, this lack of awareness and knowledge as well. And then in this sense, all the allied stuff, like say sometimes, raw materials, infrastructure, suppliers, operating expenses, all the rest of it, that also is an obstacle at times for women. And most importantly, I think the biggest obstacle is that first step, that starting up, that is so extremely important. But most of the time, we women sort of think about everything else and everybody else, but we don't really think about us and never really end up taking that first step. And that is the reason why a lot of women have so many missed dreams, so many missed aspirations, and all the rest of it. And last but not the least, there are all these conscious and unconscious biases that women can't do this and girls can't do that, and all the rest of it associated with being from a patriarchal society. And not just India, this is a world phenomenon of there are biases, they do exist, and they exist for all the women in this world. So I think I've made my case as a very visible and vocal ally for equity and inclusion, because like I said, first of all, there is no diversity without inclusion. And I still stand by on my firm belief of entrepreneurship has no gender. With that opening statement, I think, Sheeba, it is back to you for the rest of the proceedings. Thank you.
I think, Preeti, that's wonderful. And on behalf of the rest of the people here and even the women, or be it, as you said, entrepreneurship has no gender, everyone would agree. So there have been traits, qualities, and you can say some very interesting traits within female managers, or you can say women entrepreneurs, which could definitely be at par, and that could then mix with the normal, you can say, with the male entrepreneurs could work wonders. And these mixed teams can work wonders. How women are so good at stakeholder management, I think everyone knows it, that they maintain the relationship management, how to take in, where to speak and what to do. That's absolutely what I agree. And they have been multitasker all this their lives, be it home or be outside. And definitely I agree that they think last about themselves. But I think this generation is opening up to this. Maybe our mothers, grandmothers have been brought up in that situation. But the females right now, they have started thinking about their dreams and moving out. And a few of the examples are sitting right in front of me. You are there, and all these females who are here. So nice to hear your thoughts on this. And I think that will definitely bring some more thoughts for people how to include, and inclusion is what the motto is, not to have a voice that we need to support only women, but a mix of everything, and they should be given equal chance. Preeti, we'll be love to hear about your initiative with LinkedIn Local India, because that has been wonderfully growing into 40 plus cities around the world. And tell us something about the interesting story or of the existence of this whole platform. What was the idea behind of setting up this whole community of professionals? People are eager to hear about that.
Thank you very much, Shiva. And very quickly, LinkedIn Local is a LinkedIn property, which means the trademark and the branding and the property belongs to LinkedIn. It is governed by the terms and conditions of LinkedIn, but it is for the community and by the community. Now, as we all know, all of us are connected virtually to each other on LinkedIn. How many of us actually think about picking up that phone and calling or messaging each other saying, hey, let's meet for a coffee, even though we might be living like 500 meters, 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers in the same city from each other, never really think about it. So LinkedIn Local is the extension, the physical extension of that virtual community. And why? Because human being is a social animal. We thrive when we are within company, when there are conversations flowing, where there is sharing happening. That is primarily the idea behind getting this community together. It is all about connection, communication, from where a lot of collaboration happens. Now, the whole point of this community is to have a very small group of people, like-minded people, who could either be connected to each other or not yet connected to each other. But the whole point is to, like I said, spark conversations, which they can then take back to their homes, reconnect virtually via the LinkedIn platform, and then dive deeper and build on those relationships and expand their network. So that is how this community works. What I am doing at this point in time is really building it up in the tier 2, 3, 4 Bharat, because like I said, here is where the next 1 billion subscribers of the internet are going to be from. And here is where the next 100 unicorns are going to be from. No more and no need anymore actually for people from small cities and towns in the country to go to the likes of Bangalore, Gurgaon, Bombay and the rest of it, because what is happening is, with the connectivity, with the digital transformation that has happened in the last 20 odd years, things are coming to our homes. Now, look at this. A couple of years back, who would have thought that we could have a conference like this virtually, you sitting somewhere else and I'm sitting here in Jabalpur, and we are talking to the people all around the world. You know, so those barriers are being broken and the world is sort of getting smaller and smaller. So the point is that the opportunities need to be equitably available to people irrespective of where they are from, where they are located, who they are, which economic strata they belong to, and all the rest of it. So the point is to make it equitable and also include every member of the workforce and make it a level playing field for everybody. So that is the idea behind it. Been able to impact a lot of professionals, students from universities, colleges, even schools for that matter, really from 16-year-olds upwards. And this community is full of people from all stratas, you know, so right from a 16-year-old student to a C-suite executive, everybody is there. Everybody is coming out, helping each other and helping each other grow. So the motto, like I said, is connect, communicate, and collaborate, and thereby make it meaningful and a win-win for everybody. Back to you, Sheeba.
Yeah, so my next question, of course, would have been how the budding entrepreneurs would be benefited. And I think you have answered half of the thing. Maybe a couple of tips for the startups here, how they can utilize this platform, how they can have the best usage of this platform.
I think by and large, you know, the startups benefit most from when they put themselves out there. Networking is such an underrated thing, but it is so important, especially in the startup world. And especially if you are on LinkedIn and if you're not optimizing it or maximizing the use of it, then I think, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you're living under a rock. Time to come out of under the rock, actually start reaching out to people, start building those networks, start deepening those relationships. And the relationship building cannot be transactional, you know. So the first thing that you do is do not ask for a fund straight away or ask for, can you do this for me? The mindset has to be of a giver's mindset. And once when you know the right way of approaching people and networking and building on those conversations, things automatically start happening. So the first thing that I would say to everybody here, whether it is an entrepreneur, investor, student, a corporateur, or anybody that is there, please do not underestimate the power of LinkedIn or of networking for that matter. Please open up meaningful conversations, invest in your relationships, build it over a period of time. It is not a magic wand that you do something today and there will be results tomorrow. Give it time, do it the right way. If you have any questions, reach out to me, because 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes is very less to explain the entire nuances of it. But in short, all I would say is please do not be shy, put yourself out there, ask the right questions, and let that network and conversation grow. Thank you. Back to you, Sheeba.
Thank you so much, Preeti. I think my next question is already answered, that how the tips on how to create this wonderful networking. So you are a master of creating this whole setup. And many a times startups fail because they have wonderful products, they have wonderful solutions, but they are not able to network or reach to the right person because they are not outside, or they're still in their own cocoon and not moving out the way they should be. So this is a much needed activity which the startups should do. And this is a wonderful tip which you gave to all the startups here. Don't ask for funds in the first go. So that has been a misconception that networking is all about funds. So you need this networking for many more things, just not funds. So for audience here, we have all the profiles of the speakers in the chat box. You can connect them, talk to them. And now the forum is open. Preeti, so thank you so much for this wonderful insights and things. The forum is now open for questions by the audience. There's a question for Gandhali. How GitHub works actually, the tech behind it, and how do your team manage 65 million users? I was just wondering what the 65M. So Gandhali, this is for you. If you can just hear it and answer to Ritesh.
The question was, how do we manage that 65 million developers, right?
Yes, and what is the tech behind the GitHub? So I think it's there in the chat box.
Okay, I'm trying to, 1 second, let me just maximize. Okay, now I'm good. How GitHub works actually, the tech behind it, how do your team manage it? Okay, so let me tell you a story. GitHub started in 2008 as a collaboration platform. And I think we reached 100,000 developers in a few years. But GitHub actually grew steadily through first few years. So the platform was, obviously there is a lot of different technology that is built on the platform, but what we have at the base core is github.com, which is our web application where you can go, and those who have seen it, you can create your repos, you can open source your source code, you can collaborate with people. That's like the base core functionality of GitHub. Then as GitHub grew, we created more and more versions. So for example, after a first few years, there was a realization that this is a platform just for developers and collaboration, right? But what if enterprises want to use it? And what is enterprises want to put some structure around it, that who can access what? So that's where we came up with a enterprise server version, which is where there was a different version of GitHub which you could actually just install on your local machines, on your local data center, on your local virtual machines, and run it from there. At the same time, we had GitHub Enterprise in cloud also available. So right now it's all empowered, I would say, from behind. It's all a cloud-based, I would say, platform. And it has evolved over many iterations, and it has evolved over last 13 years. So it's not something that we built overnight. It has been a lot of years for us to get there. And as the user base grows, see, we don't really have to attract users here, because people who want to collaborate, their first choice is always GitHub, right? So as the platform grew, the GitHub as an enterprise, as an entity also grew, and we realized that, okay, now we need more features. Now we need to support our developers in different ways. So that's how the evolution of GitHub has happened. So there is a lot of technologies behind it. It's built on many different technologies, and it's all powered by cloud right now. I don't want to get into the names because some of that is proprietary stuff. So I wouldn't get into the names of the technologies.
Thank you, Gandhali. Pooja, this is for you. We would love to hear your journey with ITTO office, that how you have created such a wonderful setup, and how women can avail the benefits out of your Caterpillar program, what you mentioned right now. So please, over to you, Pooja.
Thanks, Sheeba. So, the journey with ITTO started when just the pandemic arrived in March 2020. And you all would be, happy to know we are a complete women team. So all the team members, including me.
That's amazing to hear.
So we are a women team, and because, we understand each other, we can coordinate and multitask and empathize with each other for different things. So we thought of that we are into a field where we'll talk about technology transfer and IP all the time. That is what our core profession is all about. So we thought of coming out with a scheme where we are helping the women innovators, especially the faculty innovators who have worked on so many inventions. Could be there lying at a back burner of their labs, sitting just waiting to be launched. So through this scheme, we want to give them an opportunity through which they can get those innovations and inventions out of the lab, try their hands on entrepreneurship, see if they can work on their own baby to get it to the market. And during this entire journey of getting from lab to the market, we will be there as a partner supporting them in the entire process, be it, getting a license from the institution or university, either maybe, protecting IPs, telling them what the IP strategy should be, because most of the people believe that IP strategy is something they should think about at a later stage. But while IP strategy starts once you think about your startup, because the first thing you think about the startup is the name of the startup. That itself is an IP. So we are trying to bring that change in the mindset to ensure that people know what IP is, how they can utilize it, even being a faculty innovator, what differences they can bring in. So more to bring in academic entrepreneurship to the forefront, but through the female faculty innovators. And the scheme will also give them a support of 2 lakhs for the patent filing. If they have not already filed it, they can get it done through that. The only condition is that there should be at least 2 female innovators onto the patent to be in a position to avail this particular scheme. But we would be happy to discuss with each one of them whatever queries they have. If we can modify the scheme according to their needs, we would be happy to do that.
I think this is another inclusion activity which you're doing, what Preeti was mentioning. Glad to hear this, Pooja. Pooja, I'll add on to one more thing. Maybe the startups are not aware with the drawbacks of missing on the IP front, that how important it is to protect their IPs or compliances which they miss. What could be, just in a few words, what could be the biggest drawback they could have during this interval, that they miss their compliances, or they forego their, you can say simply the name of the company and all that. What could be the, maybe the startups can have a view on this also.
Sure, Sheeba. So the biggest disadvantage is that you are missing on the time. So the right time to act on any of the, protecting any of the IP is once you have it in mind. If you wait for a better time, there's no better time. You're losing on. For in case of patents, if you have already disclosed the invention, thinking that you would file a patent at a later stage, in that case you are losing onto the time. So and also the rights to the invention. So my suggestion and my advice to the startups is, please act now. Don't wait for later, and always have a budget for the IP too, because most of the startups that we work with, they are not aware, okay, IP is going to be an expensive process. They don't have the budgets for it. So if they start working on the IP part as part of the business plan, then there won't be any issues at a later stage.
Great to hear this. I think this will be a great insight by the for the startups here. And of course, women can be cheerful now. They have something very special for them. So many special schemes and things they are coming to know. So Preeti, there's a question for you in the chat box. Does LinkedIn for Local work as chapter more in different cities? And if you have any in Uttarakhand?
Thank you, Sheeba, and thank you for that question. Let us see who has posed that. Renu, thank you, Renu, for that question. Yes, LinkedIn Local works on a chapter basis. Given the time and the constraints of the last almost 2 years, everything is lying dormant at the moment, but surely Dehradun has got a chapter in, the state that you're asking. Nearby in Mathura, there is a chapter, and so on and so forth. Like I said, concentrating more on tier 2, 3, 4 Bharat. So along with that, there are chapters in Jodhpur, in Jabalpur, in Indore, in Gwalior, in Raipur, Bhilai, and all the rest of it. Once the situation starts getting back to more conducive, wherein all of us are fully vaccinated, because safety and security is prima facie the number one thing that is extremely important right now, we will be back into a more active mode. As of now, lots of interventions happening online. Personally, for me, I am a live streamer as well, which means in the last almost 2 years, I have done more than 200 plus deep topic, diverse sets of LinkedIn lives, which you can sort of catch up onto my LinkedIn profile. I have left a link in the chat box as well, where you can catch all the back episodes. But keep an eye on my LinkedIn profile, because every other week there's something or the other happening, including on Saturday, there is a 6-part series, episode number 3 on talent that's going online. So for now, it's more of a virtual mode, Renu, but going forward, we would be hybrid and then probably fully back to physical in good time. Thank you for that question. Back to you, Sheeba.
That's wonderful. I think with this, Preeti, I missed on, and many people will be eagerly waiting your role with 100x VC. And then how are you, like maybe the first with the 100x VC and then the Trade Tower, your relationship as an advisor?
Sure. So yes, and very pointedly, when I made my opening comments, I was very pointed about the fact that when you do connect, please do not make your first ask about funds, because that is what I have been getting time and time again. Even though I do LinkedIn workshops for students in schools, colleges, and universities, and I let them know the right way of using the platform, I still get this. So pointedly, coming back to that question, I am scouting for sector agnostic startups for 100x VC. The geographical region is all across India. This is the very first check that I'm looking at to you for. It could be utilized for your proof of concept, for your initial sort of, idea validation and whatever else. So what happens is when you get on board with 100x VC, we take you through not just funding, but also mentorship, education, the right connection, and plugging into the ecosystem. So it is a full 360-degree solution that happens when you come in. And we work under India Safe Notes, which means you do not need to write off equity straight away. You will only need to sign off on equity when you raise your first round, basically. So when you raise your first institutional round is when you can write off your equity towards the investment that 100x VC would have made to you. So that is that on 100x VC. Most recently, Trade Tower at Vasaikar University, which is in Hyderabad, has taken me on board as the board of advisor, one of the members of the board of advisors. And I'm also the diversity and equity and inclusion ambassador for Trade Towers. So Trade Towers is a startup for startups, which means the main point right there is to identify future unicorns and give them a conducive environment in terms of resources, mentorship, capital, space, head space, and all the rest of it, so that they can get started and in time make this startup scalable, sustainable, and hopefully into a unicorn one day. So that is the whole idea. Again, I think inclusion and equity really important, because what we are doing at Trade Tower at Vasaikar University is also very mindfully, the startups that are incubated there automatically anyway have at least one female founder. So that is a conscious, unconscious decision that we want to be inclusive. We want to have a particular setup in place which makes it equitable and, sort of an open arms, open welcoming environment for anybody, any woman, any girl to come up and talk to us and see what we can do for them. So I hope that answers your question, Shiva. It's back to you.
Yes, and I think many of these startups, even the incubation center people or people around the ecosystem will be happy to know this and connect you offline for more understanding. That's wonderful work you're doing, Preeti. Thank you so much. Anila, this is a question for you by Vaibhav. He wants to know the benefits to starters working on smart agricultural machinery to make farmlands more sustainable. So is there any specific scheme for agri-tech startup support? And can you suggest, so he wants to know in some tips on the schemes for agri-tech or similar start schemes.
Yes, can you hear me, Sheeba?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, Vaibhav, under Ministry of MSME, the agriculture is out of purview. But to answer your question, I would request you to go and see some of the schemes of Ministry of Food Processing Industry. One is Prime Minister Kishan Sampada Yojana, and other one which was recently launched under the Atmanirbhar Bharat concept, known as the PM Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprise Scheme. Under this scheme, there is a component of seed capital fund for the agriculture sector also. So you can look into that scheme, and definitely you would be funded under that scheme. You can look into the guideline and the website and URL for the same. I would share shortly also. It's mofpi.nic.in. Back to you, Siddha.
That's wonderful. I think people can reach there, and we'll share the link as well, maybe after the session. And thank you, Anila. That was really helpful. Thank you so much. I think we have no further questions, and I can see Vanya here. So Vanya, you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you so much, Shiva. Thank you for so wonderfully, moderating the session and welcoming all our guest
Because
speakers.
of it was all because of the great speakers here. It was amazing speaking to all these people here. So there have been like Anila and Pooja have been interacting, Preeti, Gandhali, and all these people. It's so nice to meet, and I think that this way I'm getting so many nice people for furthermore interaction. Thank you so much, Headstart, for inviting me here, for interacting with such great. I would again be not being specific to females, but yeah, it was wonderful to have you all, and wonderful the views and things you brought in for the audience as well. Thank you everyone. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I would also like to thank Dr. Lakshmi, Gandhali, Pooja, Anila, Preeti for coming in, joining us, sharing your wonderful views and your journey so far. It's been so inspiring. So thank you so much for coming in, and we look forward to collaborating with you, working with all of you in the future for the ecosystem.